Welcome back, everybody, to the Real Improvement Show with Gus and Dave. We are with another special guest today, the one and only Arlene Hale.
Yeah.
David, can you go ahead, please, and introduce Arlene real quick?
I can. I don't know that Arlene needs any introduction. Arlene is the founder and owner and president and any other distinguished title you can think of Hale Accounting Services. Arlene's... I guess we'll call it claim to fame. She is a whiz when it comes to taxes, right? And being in the time of year we're in, I thought it was, and you thought it was really important to have Arlene come on and have this discussion because, you know, everybody is thinking about that, that illustrious refund, right? They're thinking about getting that money back that they've put into the government and the government's been holding on to for them for the last year or so. So Arlene, we're so glad to have you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. I was kind of looking forward to it, a little nervous, but
only kind of.
Yeah, just kind of.
Okay. Well,
no, I was looking forward to it. I was. This is the first time I've ever done this.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
This is cool. This is and this is a lot of fun. And as you can see, we have a lot of fun with it. We're not formal. There's no suit.
There's nothing
here.
Formal about me.
And that's one of the things we love about.
That's why you're here. That's one of the reasons why you're here.
So I think if you guys are good, let's just go ahead and get right into it. Right. I think
absolutely.
That what we want to pick your brain about is tax season, right? We're there. People are like I said, they're looking forward to hopefully getting those refunds if they qualify for them and all of that stuff. But what we want to talk about today, since we're so early on in the tax season, is what should people be thinking about as it pertains to preparing to have their returns filed, right? Are there documents? Are there processes? What are some of the things that you see, and maybe even some common mistakes that you see as it pertains to people getting ready to have their tax returns filed?
That's easy to take care of, easy to talk about. Well, first of all, as you guys know, I love doing taxes. I thrive on it. I look forward to tax season. Yes, I am crazy, but I love it. I love taxes.
That's awesome.
And the numero uno, the first thing I think everybody should be concerned about and take serious thought about is who does your taxes. You want to use a reputable person. I have had clients come to me and said, oh, the person who did my taxes before, they used to work for the IRS. So they told me what I could deduct and couldn't deduct. Well, they may have worked for the IRS, but not doing taxes. And they knew nothing. And the clients ended up getting audited and having to pay interest and penalties, et cetera. Wow. So check out the person who's doing your taxes, myself included. I am an enrolled agent. What is an enrolled agent? An enrolled agent is a tax specialist. If you were to Google it, you would see it says tax specialist prepares taxes, et cetera, et cetera. A CPA is a certified public accountant. And if you Google CPA, it would say prepares taxes, does audits, et cetera, et cetera. I have the same, an enrolled agent has the same qualifications as a CPA when it comes to taxes. We had to take various tests, pass them, et cetera. And we can represent somebody before the IRS, not that we want to, but we can. We have that privilege. So first thing would be to find and make sure you feel comfortable with that preparer.
So let me ask you this, going into that, right? So you're talking about doing some research on the person that's doing your taxes. I want to backtrack maybe just a little bit. When is it more beneficial, or is it always more beneficial to have somebody like yourself do the tax return versus maybe somebody doing it themselves, right? Because for many, many years, my wife and I, we did she did our taxes, right? I mean, I gave her all of the stuff that she needed from me, and let's be honest, she took care of it. But now, for example, you're doing our taxes, right? So is it always more beneficial? Is it sometimes okay for somebody to do their own? I mean, talk a little bit about that.
Yes, of course. You can, if you want to do it yourself, feel free to do it. If you have a very simple, and I maybe just have a couple of W-2s, and that's all. Absolutely. Get TurboTax or something like that, and do the taxes. It's pretty straightforward, and it's not so expensive.
Sure.
The more you have as far as deductions, or if you have rental property, if you have your own business, things like that, you've sold stock, then I would say go to a professional. Mainly because when you do it yourself, there are things that you may forget. TurboTax is good, but they don't always ask you the right questions.
Right.
Or the additional questions that need to be asked. So if the more complicated your return is, the more I would strongly suggest that you go to a professional.
Absolutely. Nice. I want to touch on the hiring a reputable person or CPA to do taxes. So what are some of the red flags that people should be looking for?
Good question.
In hiring somebody to take care of the taxes for them?
Listen to what they say. First of all, oh, I can get you all kinds of refunds. Red flag.
Sure. Interesting. But people that like appeals to people, right? Because obviously everybody wants their money.
They want to get a refund.
Sure.
But you know what? Not everybody gets a refund. And if you don't get a refund, sometimes they get mad at me if they're not getting a refund. I have to explain to them why they didn't get that refund. Yep. And then they can adjust their withholding and stuff like that for the next year. But a good red flag would be, I can get you that refund that you really want.
Right.
Oh, come to me. I'll do it. It won't take more than a couple of minutes. Things like that. If it's, the expression, if it sounds too good, it probably
is.
Right.
Yeah. So, and when somebody says, oh, I worked for the IRS, or I've been doing taxes for umpteen hundred years or whatever, fine, check it out.
Yeah.
Do
Absolutely.
you have referrals? Can you tell me about them or stuff like that?
I feel like we get that in our industries too, right? I can't tell you how many times I'm talking to an agent, another realtor, and I've been doing this for 30 years. Okay, doesn't mean you're any better or worse than the next.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So that's a really good point. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, our audience, as you know, are homeowners, right? For the most part. What should they be looking for? How can they prepare better this year about taxes? And, part two of that question is, are there anything different or anything that changed from last year to this year that would benefit a homeowner specifically?
Oh, good question.
Yes, there is. A number of things. If you're a homeowner, number one, if you have a mortgage, you want to get these papers together. You want to get your mortgage statement, which has, and if they paid your real estate taxes, great. If you paid them yourself, we need you, get that together. Any other, if you had charitable contributions, I had a call yesterday from a client who asked, what's the max you can deduct on charitable donations? I said, there is no max. Wow. Well, that's not necessarily true. The max is you can't really give more than 50% of your income. And I think maybe now it's 60%, if I'm not mistaken. So the client says, "Oh, that's not the problem then."
Right.
But
I think it should almost always not be the problem,
right.
Otherwise, there is a problem. I feel
so if cash and checks, obviously you deduct, and any goods that you gave. Now, if you gave goods that were worth more than $500, I refer to it as itemizing. Yep. For example, you gave to Goodwill, and you said it comes to about $1,000. Now that should be the fair market value, not what you paid for it.
Correct.
But and I also suggest if you went to a flea market and you saw this item, how much would you be willing to pay for it?
That's a good way to put that.
We always think of our goods as Oh, they're really good.
There are certain things.
My goods are really good.
Well, there are certain things that are thousands of dollars on the market.
Correct. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously that's not the norm.
But and you want to list, clothing.
Yes.
Now, if clients came to me, I don't have to necessarily list, 3 blouses, 4 coats, so forth. I could just lump it all under clothing. I might put separate for shoes or handbags as far as for women, men's suits. I would still put that into clothing. Mm-hmm. But then I would put household items, electronics, things like that. I would separate and put the total value. So that would go on a separate form on the tax return because it's going to be more than $500, but it's deductible, providing you can meet the standard in excess of your standard deduction.
Sure.
And so I would get all these items together. I personally don't have to see every single receipt.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
I don't have to see it. If you're ever audited, the IRS agent wants to see it.
Right.
So have it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my experience with, let's say, Goodwill, right? Mm-hmm. We took a couple boxes to Goodwill last year, more than a couple, and they basically gave us a blank receipt.
Right.
And it was
Salvation Army does the same thing.
That's right.
So
yeah.
I mean, how do you justify the numbers if they want to audit you and stuff like
what I would suggest, and what this client that I referred to just a little while ago, he took pictures and wrote down. His wife had passed away, so he donated her clothing and stuff like that. He took pictures of everything, and he wrote it down. Where if he gets audited, he has this to show the IRS agent.
Yeah.
Most people wouldn't think to do that, though, right? Because most people, you're just dropping stuff off.
I didn't think of it.
Right.
Absolutely.
But on that receipt, you should still write down what it is you gave.
Interesting.
I gave clothing. I gave.
So you shouldn't just put a dollar amount. You should list
it.
Yeah, I mean, and general. You can generalize it. Clothing, electronics, TV,
housewares,
whatever, things like that.
Interesting.
And you don't have to list the amount on every single item, but have the backup. So if you're ever audited, you have it.
Yeah.
So one of the things you mentioned just a minute ago was receipts, right? Every time I think about taxes and I think about receipts, I always think back, this will date some things a little bit, but I think back, I believe it was an episode of Roseanne back when it was on 100 years ago. And the main characters were doing the taxes, and she shows up with this box of jumbled receipts, and they were all over the place, right? How often does something like that happen when you're preparing taxes, and what can people do, especially now? I mean, like, for example, I've got a spreadsheet, but is there a better way for people to kind of keep themselves organized to make their tax return process more streamlined, easier for them, for you, things like that?
If somebody came to me, and I have had that, with a box of receipts, I tell them, I'm happy to total it up, but there is a charge.
That makes sense.
That's
There
fair.
is an additional charge, a time charge, because it's my time. I have to sit there and total every single receipt.
Sure, absolutely.
Usually, and I would say, they'll say, oh, I'll total it up then.
Is there something out there? Is there any like a resource? Is there any like a software or something or an app where people can use to make that process a little easier?
You're talking electronics now.
Okay. So scratch that question.
I'll tell you. I mean,
you can use a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I use an Excel spreadsheet, and I've been using one for just made one up in Excel. I think I may have found like a template and kind of bastardized it to suit my needs.
Sure.
But one of the things I will tell you that has been really helpful was I actually sent that over to Arlene, and she helped me make it better so that this way I could track easier. We could have the different categories, which at the end of the day is going to make her job easier when she goes to file the return. So I mean, I look, I'm not a tax expert, obviously, but something like that's probably the direction that I would send people, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I refer back to the app and stuff like that because we have all those things at our fingertips, and I think, I'm a big tech person, and for me, I would much rather have an app on my phone where I can just scan my receipt and toss it, and not have to worry about it ever again.
If you can do that, that's great.
Yeah.
So
long as you have backup, if you're ever audited.
Yep.
I personally,
paper
again,
together.
do not have to see the receipt.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, sometimes I've had people come in and say, "Oh, I spent $2,500 on a cell phone," or that's not such a good example. Let's say $5,000 on a cell phone. I don't think there's any cell phones that are $5,000.
Gosh, no, there's not even.
Not that I know of. No.
So
I think
I would question that.
Sure.
And then I might ask for the receipt.
I got you.
Because you have to remember, you are the one who is signing the return.
Yep.
You sign that you gave information to the preparer and that all the information you gave the preparer is correct. Mm-hmm. The preparer signs that they filled out the return based on the information the client gave. Mm-hmm. And so that's important to remember, that you, the taxpayer, is signing that return that you gave correct information.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. And for the sake of the topic of this episode, is there anything else you can think of that would help homeowners prepare better before filing taxes this year?
Yes, I would say a lot of people, they come in and they say, "Oh, I think I got a form. I'm not sure." As soon as you get a form in the mail, a lot of the forms say important tax information on the envelope. Right away, put it aside, put it in an envelope, put it in a folder, wherever you're going to put all your tax stuff. And so you have it all together. I've told my clients, bring me everything you have. If you're not sure if I need it, bring it. I'd much rather you bring too much than not enough.
I was going to say the less is more rule does not apply to taxes.
Right.
No,
that's right. Yeah.
No, I'd rather, because you may not think it's important, but it may be. Mm-hmm. It may be something that can help you.
So would it be fair to say that one of the big hang-ups, I guess, for people, or one of the biggest things that get in the way, is their lack of materials, or their lack of organization, their lack of preparation in terms of documents that you might need?
Yes to all of the above.
Wow. Nice.
Fair enough.
A lot of time, it's not unusual for me to say, well, I don't have this information. Last year we had this. Do you not have it anymore? Right. Oh, yeah. Isn't it there? No, I don't have it. Oh, I must have it at home someplace. Or they forget to bring things. And I also tell new clients in particular, to bring the prior year's return. Now, current clients that I have the prior year, but I always refer to the prior year. And I had one new client says, "Why do you need the prior year? Don't you know how to do it?" And I said, "Yeah."
Nope, first time.
So I said, I use your prior year to make sure that we're covering all your bases. Right. We want to make sure. Maybe you had a carry forward, some a deduction that you couldn't take last year that you can take this year. Maybe there was some income you had last year that I don't have it here for this year. I can ask you about it.
Sure.
If I don't see anything, I don't have anything to ask you. I can't remind you, about this, that, or the other thing.
Sure.
So that's important. So.
Yeah. Okay. Did you want to add anything else on this topic?
File early.
Yeah.
Is there? I assume with the pandemic, there's a lot of delay right now.
There's no delay this year.
It's back to April 15.
And the other thing I do want to say is file electronically.
Yeah.
E-file. IRS is really stressing it this year. There are still about 10 million people that have not received their quote-unquote refunds from last year yet.
Wow.
And we don't want to do that, have to go through that again this year. Right. File, when you e-file, you will get, and you're getting a refund, you will get your refund in 2 to 3 weeks.
It's not bad.
And I would suggest you have direct deposit.
That was my next question.
Yep.
And some people say, I don't want IRS to have my account number.
They got it.
Guess
anyway.
what? They have it anyway.
Whether they like it or not.
That's right.
That's the least
100%.
of your worries,
So,
right? I mean,
because then you get it immediately.
Yeah.
We all know the mail is not 100% these days.
Yeah.
So to have to wait for a check to be mailed to you, you don't want to do that.
Just go with direct
The
deposit.
other thing with e-filing is I can only speak for myself.
Sure.
When I e-file a return, I get a response that it has been received by the IRS on such and such a date at such and such a time.
Yeah.
When you mail something, you have to
Get
pay
no
for the
confirmation,
postage.
unless you do certified.
If you do certified, that's an additional charge.
right.
And again, that return may be sitting there for a while
Yep.
before it is processed.
And sometimes the return can be quicker, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Sounds like all the time it'll be quick.
It'll always be quicker. Yes, you want
Meaning quicker than 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
yes, it could. When you have direct deposit, it's usually within 14 days. Within 14 days. If you're going to have a check, it used to be within
14
3
months.
weeks, but but it could take longer now.
Sure.
I got to tell you, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are quote unquote old school, right? They like those paper returns, but with technology, what it is today, I mean, it's you're doing yourself a disservice.
There's no charge.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
And it's worth.
If you own a smartphone, just do it electronically. Who doesn't? right?
Or have somebody do it for you electronically.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yep.
So I'll tell you what, I mean, I will tell you, look, if it's okay with you, we're going to put all of your contact information in the description so that people can reach out to you, whether they, have questions, hopefully to have you do their return. To Arlene's point, get in there early, because as the tax season goes on, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier, and it gets harder to get those slots in. I will tell you, there's a lot of people out there that prepare taxes. Maybe this is just my lack of experience in that field, but in my opinion, nobody better than Arlene Hale.
I agree.
I was just going to say something. I don't remember what I was going to say.
Happens to the best of us.
That said, how can people reach you, Arlene?
They can email me at Arlene, ARLENE, at Hale, HALE, accounting.com.
Awesome.
Love it.
And my phone number is 301-740-3344.
Beautiful.
I love it. Thank you so much. With that concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. And once again, if you have any questions for Dave, myself, or Arlene on this topic or any topic, home improvement or real estate related, and taxes in this case, don't hesitate to leave us a comment below or reach out to one of us, and we'll be happy to help out.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Jason?